I want my kids to grow up feeling like it was my absolute privilege to be their mother. Being a mom, for me personally, is the absolute joy of my life. But because it's so hard, I often don't actually act joyful in the moment. I know for myself, even though I adore my kids, and again, I really do love being a mom, I can get so bogged down in the responsibility of being a mom that I don't enjoy the privilege of being a mom. And that is where I've had to do a lot of work to, again, be intentional about joy. So, in this video, I am going to share 4 things that I have done to help myself not only express joy, but also to truly experience joy on the inside. And I do just want to add a disclaimer here. This video is not meant to manufacture joy from a place of fear or sadness or something clinical like depression, right? Like, I am not talking about slapping a smile on when things are actually really bad. Obviously, if you're in that position, please get the help that you need. But this video is really intended more for the women who are like, I know I'm happy. I know that I have so much to be grateful for, but I'm just not experiencing that in my everyday life. And they just want that help to give their kids the gift of a joyful mom. The first lesson that I had to learn is this: being a joyful mother is my responsibility. It is my job to give my kids the gift of a joyful mom. Growing up, I had an amazing mom who made it clear that she loved being our mom, but she did not feel supported in the home. And that left her really frustrated with all of the tasks that came with being a housewife and a mom. And she always told us it's not supposed to be this way. You can find someone who will support you and who won't leave you to do it all alone. My father was an amazing dad, but he was not a great husband. And so I'm really grateful to my mother for putting it into perspective for me and encouraging me to find someone who would be both an amazing husband and a great father. And I did. I got married to someone who was truly a modern day Prince Charming. But I realized early on that even he was not going to give me the happiness that I desired. Despite him being helpful around the house and being an amazing father and provider, the fact of the matter is that, again, happiness is my responsibility. And so I look around and I see so many women who are relatively young, right? Women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are sad, bored, lonely, are kind of just waiting for grandchildren, right? And they don't have many friends or interests of their own. As a young mother, I remember looking around and saying, that will not be me. My children will grow up with a happy mother who made it clear that she loves being a mother more than anything, but I also make it clear that it is not my only joy. Even my children are not responsible for my happiness, and that is incredibly important to acknowledge. They do not owe me anything. And so it is my responsibility to ensure that I continue to cultivate myself as a person, a whole person, a woman with hobbies, creativity, intelligence, and a marriage that is worth making time for. Taking responsibility for my joy was a very important first lesson. That way, whenever I'm frustrated, angry, or upset when I'm with my children, I can always ask myself, how am I creating this? Often I used to find myself getting so annoyed when I would try to cook dinner and my kids were constantly interrupting, trying to touch everything, wanting to help and or starving, right? So they're trying to get all the snacks when we're going to eat in just 10 minutes, right? But I finally realized like I am doing this to myself. Why am I trying to cook an elaborate dinner complete with a recipe that I have to follow during witching hour? Right? Like that makes no sense when I have 3 little kids who are tired and hungry and want and need my attention. But before I started taking radical responsibility, I used to blame everyone else. Why can't these impatient children just wait 2 seconds? It's my husband's fault. Why does he always expect an elaborate home cooked meal? And then I would blame my mother in law. It's because she spoiled him. Do you see how it was everyone else's fault? Instead, I made a choice. I chose that when I encountered situations like this, I chose to start asking myself, what am I doing wrong here? More often than not, when I catch myself in these situations, I am operating out of a place of insecurity. I'm not a naturally great cook, I have to admit it. And I'm used to being good at things. So, to make up for it, I would try different recipes or I would want to cook before my husband would come home so that dinner was ready for him and I could sort of prove that I actually was this amazing housewife, right? But that made no sense when my primary role and responsibility is to take care of our children. He doesn't want an angry cook kicking kids out of the kitchen and ignoring them in favor of an elaborate meal. And so I made some changes. I basically have a list of 10 meals that I always have the ingredients for. They're simple, healthy, and they taste good. And that's what we eat. I try to prep as much as I can before the kids get home. And again, because it's a simple meal, I can whip it up while they watch a show or something or play in the evenings, right? But when I can't, I wait until my husband gets home before I start cooking, right? Like knowing that something can be done in 15 minutes means that even if he walks in the door hungry, by the time the kids are done saying, Daddy's home, right? And he said hi to them and changed and gotten ready for dinner, dinner can be done, right? And of course, this is only a couple nights a week, right? Another night, my husband will grill. A couple nights, we'll do takeout, and then we do leftovers. So that has helped me so much. And that's just one example of a million that I could give of how I've taken radical responsibility and probably most importantly, stopped operating out of a place of insecurity. So let's talk about insecurity for a minute. So, my second tip is to recognize that your motherhood journey may or may not look like everyone else's, and to also recognize that wanting to be like everyone else often stems from being ashamed of yourself and your own life circumstances. When my husband and I had our first daughter, we were not in a good financial situation. I had left my job in education, and he was a student trying to get into medical school. Money was very tight. I was not in a situation where I could just not work. But I knew that it was 10 out of 10 important to me to be a stay at home mom. So, long story short, I started an online coaching business where I could work part time and make good money. And so that allowed me to stay home with my daughter. But something unexpected happened. I realized that I loved working. I didn't just want this to be a temporary thing while we needed the money. I wanted to keep working part time, which was not at all what I grew up thinking that I would want as, a traditional Catholic woman, mom, and wife. It took me a while to get to the place where I stopped shaming myself for loving to work. For a long time, I told myself that it was because we just needed the money, but that wasn't true. The truth was is that I needed the stimulation. And I have to tell you, my husband was honestly the most supportive partner in this. He never told me to stop pursuing the things I was interested in. He always supported me, whether that meant taking the kids so I could get stuff done or even investing in my business twice at the very beginning. He wanted what I want, which is for our kids to have a happy and fulfilled mother. For me, it was through his love and support that I was able to accept myself and recognize that I deserve time to do the things that I want to do too. Right now, for example, I am not with my kids. As you can see, my kids are downstairs with a sitter because we're on day 3 of snow days. But I'm up here with you, creating content I'm passionate about and attempting to monetize this channel, woohoo, which is so fun and such an amazing learning experience for me. And you know what? My kids are having a literal blast. The neighbors are over, so there are actually 5 children screaming in my house right now. And from what I can gather, they are playing school. The sitter is the lunch lady, and they are having so much fun. To be honest, if I were down there, I'd probably be trying to clean, making sure they don't make too big of a mess, and just overall dampening the fun. And so I'm happy, they're happy, we're all happy. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't spend tons of quality time with my kids. I do. And that also doesn't mean that I don't still sometimes wish that I were the homeschool sourdough mom who didn't care if her house was always messy and just was able to let a little bit more loose with the kids. I do. I do wish I were that person sometimes. But I've also come to love the mom that I am rather than always punishing myself for the mom that I'm not. And you know what kind of mom I am? I'm the party mom. Like, I make every celebration a huge deal, and that is so fun for me. I'm also the pray and chat before bedtime mom. While falling asleep, my kids ask me lots of questions about God and sometimes the devil. They tell me about their day and say things that when I've mentioned it to my husband, he'll be like, wait, they don't talk to me like that, right? And so that's something special that I do with them. I'm also the let's bake together mom, and I'm the let's go grab a Starbucks kind of mom. And when I started to think about all of those things that I do, I realized that I am a really great mom in my own way. And you know what? I bet when you stop to think about it, you will realize that you are too. The next step is kind of similar to the last point. So basically, step number 3 is to appreciate all of the gifts that God has given you and put them to good use. Okay, the parable of the talents is a good insert here. God has given each of us gifts, talents, abilities, and natural tendencies. He has also given us growth opportunities, vulnerabilities, and things that we need to work on. While it's important to be honest about the growth areas that you need to work on, that doesn't mean that we have to ignore our gifts and talents. We need to cultivate them and use them for God's glory, right? And this is something that I see so many women fall into. We assume that because being a mother requires so much self sacrifice, and it does, we assume that that means that being a mother simply is self sacrifice. That sacrifice, pain, and discipline are the entirety of what it means to be a mother. But that's not true. Sacrifice, pain, and discipline are only a part of being a mother. Another part of being a mother is showing your children how to successfully navigate the world that we live in and raising them to be everything that God created them to be for His glory. And so much of that means cultivating their gifts And the best way to teach is by example. So some of that can mean cultivating our own gifts too. Something that I hope I remember forever is something that my daughter did the other day. Recently, I decided to go back to a hobby of mine that I enjoyed so much as a kid. So, my middle daughter started horseback riding lessons, and I thought, how fun would it be if we could do that together, right? Because I used to love riding as a kid, but like with so many hobbies, I abandoned it when I got older. So, I signed us both up for lessons, and I had mentioned it to my daughter, to my oldest. And would you believe that the moment that she got into the car, the day I had my lesson, she immediately asked, Mom, how was horseback riding? Right? Like even before she asked for snacks or anything else. This child is 7. I thought it was so sweet. And so, of course, I immediately pulled out the video that my instructor had made, and she watched it and then wanted to watch it again and again. And she was just so excited for me. And I thought that this was so sweet and also a true testament to the importance of teaching kids to be happy for others. So often in our culture, we lament that the younger generations are so self focused, but maybe it's because we are so focused on them, right? I truly hope that by my setting an example of having hobbies and things that are just fun for me and don't serve another purpose other than to be fun, right? The way that furthering education or working to bring in money does, that my kids will know, number one, to celebrate and be happy for others' achievements and joy, but number two, so that when they are parents, that they make sure to have time to explore their gifts and hobbies as well. I promise you, your kids will be so grateful and proud of you. And it will be really cool for them to have things to talk to you about and relate to you on a human level as they get older. Now, the last step is both my favorite and the hardest for me to remember to do. Number 4 is intentionally remind yourself of what a great mother you are. I love journaling as a prayer practice, but I don't often look back at my journals. I just use them for prayer. So it's not a good place for me to record memories that I want to keep. So many years ago, I found this 1 line a day journal, and I decided to use it to keep track specifically of my motherhood memories. Basically, it's meant to last 5 years, with each entry being just one simple line. There's a page for every day so that you can turn to a day and see the memories for several years. In it, I make a point to write the good things that I want to remember for that day. I write something I did well or something sweet the girls did, just small things that I know will warm my heart for years to come. I love that the 1 line is no pressure, and I love the ability to see the memories of many years on just one page. So I have linked this one and some others that I thought were beautiful with an Amazon affiliate link down below in case you want to get one for yourself. For me, intentionally thinking back through my day and reminding myself what I did well and how I am a great mom is a really amazing and important practice, both for my mental health, but also for my gratitude and happiness as a mom. So I hope that this or something similar also helps you remember the good things. While it is important to engage in self reflection and note what you did wrong so that you can change, too often we are way too hard on ourselves and we allow our failures to define us. I have found that this journal gives me much more of a balanced perspective, which is super helpful. Moms, I hope that this video helps you and reminds you that you are amazing and that you completely deserve to experience deep joy in your motherhood journey. One of my latest videos was all about the truth about high IQ motherhood. And so I really encourage you to check out that video. Until next time, thank you again for watching. Bye, everyone.